Hello everybody and welcome back to another CB Show Tunes tutorial. Now today what we're going to be getting into is setting up this enemy AI to where basically if it reaches within a certain distance of the enemy, then it will come after you. And of course if you leave that spot, then of course it will not come after you, of course. And if you wait, then of course you could set up an attack animation for it and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, obviously, this is not a high detailed character and all, as you could tell, but I went ahead and took the liberty of putting the information inside the code as to where you're going to be putting these animations and all, and I'll just leave it up to you to actually set up the animations for your character. Okay, so for this demonstration scene, we have a couple things that we need to set up first. So you need the characters that you're going to be using for, I guess you could say, good guys. Now, keep in mind that you can use this AI script on almost any character, whether it's an enemy for a strategy game or an enemy for an RPG game. It could be used for almost any one of these. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to need is the good guys. So you need to name the good guys or whoever you don't want attacked by this enemy to player, or whoever you want to be attacked by this enemy to player. That way we can identify who the enemy is going to be attacking. Now, if you want to set it up to be more, I guess you could say, explicit to where the enemy is going to be only attacking, say for instance, player 1 or versus player 2, then you could set it up that way as well. You just need to change the variable later on. Okay, now you also need to make sure that your character does have a capsule collider connected to it, or at least a box collider or some form of collider. That way it can actually interact with our enemy. Okay, so let's go and discuss more about the enemy. So on the enemy, if you look over here, we have, of course, everything that you would basically need: the capsule collider, the mesh renderer, the transform position, stuff like that. Now, stuff that you will need to add is this script that I'm going to be posting inside the comments section down below. You're going to need a rigid body. I would advise constraining the rotation axis of the X, Y, and Z, depending, of course, on the game that you're making. You're also going to need to add a Nav Mesh agent. We're not going to be messing around with any of these variables within this thing right here. We're going to be messing around in the script with it, but we'll get to that. And of course, then you're going to need a trigger collider. Now, I set up my trigger collider as a capsule collider. You could use any form of collider that you want to use. So depending on if you want it to be like a look sensor and all, you could just set it up to where it's facing forward, sort of like a box collider. But yeah, it's up to you on how you want this collider to be set up. Now, I of course want it to be all directions, so yeah, that's what I did. Okay, so that's pretty much it on the setup. Now, the next thing that you're going to need to do as well is set up a nav mesh for your character to walk on. If you don't know how to do that, simply go over to this Windows panel right here, go down to navigation, and it'll open up this panel. If it's not there, it's going to be somewhere. Then you're just simply going to make sure that you select the object that you want, make sure that it is set to static, otherwise it will not bake as a navigation mesh. Roll down on the objects, or actually underneath bake, and then simply select bake. You could of course adjust it to whatever you need it to be, but since this is a flat plane and all, we're just going to click bake so we get this blue stuff. So the blue is what we can walk on, which is great. If you take a look at this right here on the areas, you'll notice that we have these different options right here. And this, of course, is just for extra stuff. Now, since you see this color is that color right there, we know that we can walk on it. Now, if it was, say, for instance, this color right here, then, we'd be able to jump on it. Or that color right there, we would not be able to walk. But that's a story for another day. Okay, so let's get into the script. Now, the script is actually very, very easy. So let's go ahead and look into it. Go ahead and erase all those. We don't need them. Okay, so at the very top of this script, you're going to make sure that you're going to be using UnityEngine.ai. This allows us to use the navigation mesh controls. The next thing that you're going to do is put Nav Mesh Agent NM. So we're going to be referencing this Nav Mesh agent on this object, calling it NM. We're also going to put a public transform called player. This allows us to decide what the player is going to be or where our character is going to be moving towards. We're going to be making a public float called speed and stop distance. And we're also going to be making a public bool called isAware. And we'll get more into those the further down we go. Okay, underneath void start, we're going to be making sure that we have our reference set up. So nm is equal to get component nav mesh agent. We're going to be putting our isAware is equal to false. That way our character is not immediately running over and trying to take out our player. And of course we have our void update. Underneath these right here, you're going to see like this little settings updated. And for this, we're just going to be adjusting our nav mesh controls. So nm.acceleration is equal to speed. So whatever we set our value of speed right here, whatever we set our value of speed is, that's what we're going to be setting our acceleration inside the nav mesh agent right here. Okay. nm.stopping distance is equal to stop distance. We're doing the same thing. We're just adjusting the stopping distance for the nav mesh controller. And we're also going to be putting if player is equal to null, then player is equal to transform. So with this little line of code right here, we're basically going to make sure that we don't have a null error on our, I guess you could say, inside our console bar. So basically we're going to say if player is equal to null, then it's going to be equal to this object. That way we're not having any errors. Okay, so to judge the distance between our character and the player's position, we're going to put float distance is equal to vector3 dot distance. This basically is going to be judging the distance between two objects. And we're going to say transform dot position, comma, and then player dot position. So our current object and the object that we want to be the player. Okay, and after that we're going to put nm dot set destination player dot position. So what this statement does means that we're going to be choosing the location that our character is going to be moving to. Now, as you saw right here, if player is equal to our current object, it's not going to be moving anywhere. While if our player is equal to our player object, on the other hand, then it's going to be moving to that player. Okay, so right here is our method for attack. So if distance is less than or equal to stop distance, and is aware. So if it is the player and not itself, then we're going to be putting all these different variables, I guess you could say. So animation for attack is what you're going to be activating. So set idle animation bool to true, and then set attack animation bool to true as well. Like I said, I put these references inside there, so if you have worked with the animation controller before, you could just simply do it there. Okay, we're also going to put player is equal to transform, so it's not going to be moving anywhere. Okay, we're going to put a little comment right there, and we're going to say else if. So it's still a part of this, so it's going to be running this code first, and then this code second, and of course that code third. But anyway, so if distance is greater than stop distance and is aware, then we're going to be putting this stuff here. So we're going to say animation for moving, set idle animation bool to false, set attack animation bool to false, so we're not attacking, and then find game object by trigger. And that'll be at the way bottom, so you don't have to worry about that. And of course, the last one is going to be idle, which is else if distance is greater than stop distance and is not aware. Then basically we're going to just make our idle animation bool to true. I don't know why I put false. And our attack animation bool to false. And we're also going to put player is equal to transform. That way our character's not moving anywhere. Okay, outside of the update function, we're going to be putting a new function called void on trigger stay. Collider col. You can call this right here whatever you want to call it. I just use that just because. Okay, now we're going to say if col.compare tag player. So whenever a game object enters this collider, or this trigger I mean, then if it's a player, or if it says player on it as a tag, then we're going to have this happen. So isAware is equal to true, and player is equal to col.gameObject.transform. So we're going to be making sure that the player is now equal to the game object that just entered the area. And then void on trigger exit, collider col, same thing. We're just going to change isAware is equal to false. And that's it. I mean, that's all that you have to worry about. And then you get this amazing result of whether the character is inside or outside. So yeah, it is really, really cool. Alright, I hope you guys liked this tutorial. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, check out some other videos, and I'll see you guys next time.